Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. We're out here in the carving tent. We're getting ready to do some modifications to a newer chainsaw of mine. I say newer because I've already got a review video out on it for the homeowner. That is the Dewalt 20 volt XR. Hey, that's not a stock bar. That's the stock bar. Oh boy. For those of you starting to carve, or you're into carving, you're new, you're a beginner chainsaw carver, and you're like, I need a detail saw, or I want a small saw, or I need a lighter weight saw, that sort of stuff. This might be the option for you if you're already in the Dewalt line of tools and batteries and all that kind of stuff. Now, my son just started carving his first bear the other day with me, and we were using my small little Steel GTA 26. Now, it doesn't have the reach to do all the things in the reach in a safe manner, so he's away from it the way I'd like him to be, so we stopped. So then we went ahead and I put my MSA 160 with a dime tip bar in his hands. Now that saw runs right around 13 pounds, and it was a little bit heavy for him. This saw runs right around 9 pounds with the stock bar, but we've put a smaller bar on it, so hopefully it's lighter. I think actually we'll try to weigh it here in a few minutes. But anyway, what we're gonna do today is I'm going to show you guys some really cool things that you're able to do to take this into a custom saw that you can use for carving. It's going to cut smoother. It's going to be great for detail work. If you've already got that line, it's going to be worth it. So stick around. You're not going to want to miss it. All right, guys. So right before we get into the work, I kind of want to give you guys just a little look here. All right, so this is the Dewalt saw. Hopefully you guys will be able to see. This is just a quick little scale we got for fishing, so I don't even know how accurate this thing is, you know, but right here we're at 5, 6, like 7.5 pounds according to this. All right, 7.5 pounds according to this cheap scale. Online it says like 8.9 pounds, something like that for this unit with a stock bar. This one is the MSA 200C, so it's a little bit bigger than the 160. I'll have to grab the 160, but I already took the bar off, so that weight's gone. Now this saw is 10.5, almost 11 pounds, and they both have 10-inch bars on them. So right there's a considerable weight difference. Here is the 160. Let's put our 300 amp hour battery, or our 300 amp hour battery in. There's no bar on it, so that's the only thing. And even that, we're at about, according to this, 9 pounds. I don't think this scale is on very good, to be honest. It's not, I don't think it's very on. I mean, online, the weights are way better. Let's, maybe we could try a different scale. Hold on. Alright guys, I think this is gonna work better. So my dime tip bar and chain are off the MSA 160. We do have our AP 300 battery, MSA 160, right? Let's put this on this digital scale. And I forgot I had the sprocket off. Boom. I don't even know if you guys can see the scale, but it's 11 pounds and 3.1 ounces. So 11 pounds, 3.1 ounces with everything. I should have done this before the video. I really have no idea what the, I gotta move this saw back here. This little tabletop's not bolted in yet. Let's see what the Dewalt comes in at. We had 11 pounds, 3.1 ounces. We're at 8 pounds, 10.5 ounces. So we're about 3 pounds lighter with this. Now when you're talking, you know, carving in detail, sometimes people want that much lighter saw. For me, if my son continues to want to carve, I want him to be starting out with a lighter saw, more control. It's not, the saw is not, you know, working him, he's working the saw. So that's what we're hoping for. All right, enough of that. Let me show you guys how to swap this thing over. With a few things you're gonna need. There's gonna be more you're gonna need, but let's just start with a few. Wide mouth pliers, scrunch, flat file, cut off wheel for your Dremel, a metal cutting burr for your Dremel, burr set. I'm going to have the same or similar items, including the saw and everything, linked down below, guys, through Amazon. You guys make a purchase through that, help support the channel, and I do appreciate it. You're going to need a T20 torque bit. You're gonna need a 10mm socket. And now it's gonna be up to you what you want to put on it for a bar and chain as far as steel brand goes. I have modified a 12-inch to fit, and this is the 10-inch. So kind of gonna depend on what he wants to do and how he feels, but now he has the option to swap them back and forth. Let's pull the battery out before we work. 5 amp-hour batteries while I'm running. So bar and chain options, right? Let's see here, 10-inch, which is bolted on. Him and I are going to start with that. But the bar, part number 3005-008-3403, steel part number. If you want to go get one at the store. The chain to go with this bar and setup, 3670-005-0056, bar and chain. That's the 10-inch. If you want to just jump right to a 12-inch, all right, bar 3005-008-3405, or the chain is 3670-005-0064. Now none of these that I just read off are the dime tip bar. And that's probably what you guys really want. So the dime tip bar, you'd have to do all the bars to fit. You have to do the same modification and make it happen. But the dime tip bar part number 3005-000-3105. I don't have the chain part number offhand, but when you go, if you decide to order the steel dime tip bar, carving bar it'll be called, the option for chains will come up on your dealer's page. If they tell you it doesn't, all they have to do is go to their catalog on their computer and look up chainsaw chains and scroll down, and it'll say carving chain. You got to just make sure it's 43 gauge to fit this bar. I've been hearing a lot of dealers are like, yeah, we can't get that. Yeah, no, that's not in here. It is. I happen to spend a little time at a dealer, and I'm able to look these things up. So don't let them fluff on you. So we're working with the 12-inch bar, but I want to show you a couple. Sit down. I want to show you some differences. Even if you're not going to carve with this, I want to show you some differences in chains and in bars from stock to now. So stock bar and chain, new bar and chain roughly, right? So 43 gauge chain, small little teeth. I think this is 50 gauge chain that comes on the Dewalt, big beefy teeth. If you're trying to carve, you get a lot of chatter, a lot of jumping around on the wood. You're trying to make a straight cut, it doesn't just grab. Why? This is meant for cutting quick. You're not really going to do a bunch of firewood, but it's quick clean up cuts, chunky, remove a lot of material, be done. That's what this is set up for. Carving, we want to be a little bit slower. We want to finesse. We want to have control of what it is we are doing. Smaller teeth, closer together. All right. So let's look at these two teeth right here. I got them pretty darn close together. And let's see until we see the next tooth. Next tooth. Dewalt tooth isn't showing yet. Dewalt tooth. All right, so you're looking at about a ½ inch difference. This does make a difference when you're carving, guys. More teeth on this chain than this chain. Smaller teeth, bigger teeth, just as sharp. Cuts better when you're carving. All right. So in order to get in here, you're gonna have to remove this cover on your Dewalt chainsaw. Just twists off. All right, set that aside. Now that that cover's off, you're in here, you can see what's going on. Make sure that battery's out before you even get started. This will loosen the chain. Take your stock bar and chain off. This is obviously aftermarket. We will get into that. But we have to do something to the unit before we worry about that bar and chain setup. The other thing I forgot, you're gonna need a 1/4 inch bit and a drill, okay? So we're gonna turn this up on end. Got a bunch of screws in here. 1, 2, not the handle screw, down here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Thought there were 6. 6 screws to remove. Those take that T20 torque bit. Your screws are out. This black plate right here just pops right off. Okay? Got gearing in here and everything. Just set this guy aside. Your chain tensioner might pop out like this. We don't really have to do anything with it other than trying to just get it back in place. So you will have to finagle with that. You want it back in place. You don't want to have to fart around with this later. Set it up now and be done with it. It is a pain in the butt. Boom. Should be in there like that. Chain tensioner. Okay. You got to get this off to get into the sprocket. Because we are replacing the sprocket. Okay, so I'll give you a part number once we get it off. So you know, this removes clockwise. So I take my pliers, I get in here on my sprocket. Don't break your teeth off, alright? Try to get as much of that sprocket as you can without breaking teeth. You're not overly squeezing. Don't use vice grips. Now we're going to go clockwise. Clockwise. Okay, so it's a reverse thread. Move this bolt and this washer. Now you might try to lift this up. If it doesn't come right out easily, your chain brake's on. Push that forward, chain brake's off. Right, so boom, sprocket's out. Now, this is the sprocket I removed off my MSA 160. This is a stock quarter pitch sprocket. Now, I thought I had a part number right on here. But you can go to your local steel dealer. You can tell them I need a quarter pitch sprocket for my MSA 160. That's what fits. Quarter pitch sprocket for your steel MSA 160. They should be able to order it up. This is the stock Dewalt one. Pretty sure it's a 3/8 pitch. See the difference in teeth as well? Okay, when they're measured and they're up this way, or even if you sit them up like this, there's no gaps. They sit proper height, proper distances. Mat them up this way. These are ultimately the same. Crazy, right? Other than wrong pitch, wrong size. Well, correct if you're keeping it stock. Modification one, okay? Keep in mind, guys, anything you do here, you do at your own risk. If there is failure, if there's anything like that, these modifications that you're making to this saw or any saws can void any and all warranties that come with it. If you make this modification to your unit and you get hurt, that is on you. You are choosing to do this. So, just letting you know. Take your big washer, put that back on. Now you're gonna go counterclockwise to put the nut or the screw in. And this doesn't have to be crazy tight, but get a good grip with your pliers. Nice and snug. Like I was saying, I find these to have the best grip, but there we go. So that sprocket's in. Let's put our cover back on. Now we are not totally done. There are modifications we have to do to the bar, so don't go skipping ahead on me and being done with this video. Put our screws all in so we are complete with this part of the job. That's all back together. I never toss parts, so I'd save this sprocket, okay? Let's set this saw aside. Now we've got to move into how do we get the bar to fit. So let's get the chain off. Like I said, we're going with the 10-inch bar. I've already modified the 12 as well, but we're gonna go with the 10-inch bar. A little bit faster, less drag on the saw. Not by much, but only just a little bit. So you're also gonna need a permanent marker. A couple things I keep forgetting, you know. But you're gonna have to take that stock bar and your new bar, and you gotta line them up. You gotta see where your markings need to be. This is where the Dremel and the cutoff wheel are gonna come into play. So I've already done the work, but I'm gonna walk you guys through it, okay? Now, these are the stock steel holes, are the closest ones to the green. These are the new holes that I had to drill out. All right, So with drilling out those holes, we also had to bring this gap up a little bit higher on this bar. I want to say it was about 1/4 to 1/2 an inch higher. So if you take the Dewalt bar and set it on top of your stock steel bar that has not been modified, I have this back end just barely meets in the center. So like where it would come through here, like that can be flush here, not these ends, but make it flush here. All right, and then you're going to take your permanent marker, go through and mark these holes. You got to drill those out with a 1/4 inch bit. You want a good bit. This is good grade steel on these bars, so you might burn it up. Then you also want to go ahead and take a look at this huge groove on the Dewalt bar, and you can see I cut it short. Now you can cut it all the way if you want, mark it with that, and then cut it. I cut mine about a little over 1/4 of an inch shorter than what I needed. It could come up at least another 1/8 though, so I have a little more room for adjustment, but it works like this. So you made your markings, now it's time to modify the bar. You gotta get out your Dremel, get out these good cutoff wheels. Again, I'll have the same, similar, or all these tools and items down in the description below through Amazon links. All right guys, you buy through there, help support the channel and the work that I do in my videos, and I do appreciate it. You're gonna take this guy, put this down on some wood, eye protection, all that good stuff. Cut your lines, do. Don't worry about the groove. You can attempt it with this the best that you can. All right, cut that all out. Set that aside, change your bit, and get yourself a cheap little burr metal cutting bit, okay? This is pretty hard, so it does put a bit of a beating on these burrs, but this will really round out the groove in here, okay? Smoothing it out and cleaning it up. After that, you got to grab the saw and see how it fits. If it's a really tight fit and it won't go down on here like it's supposed to, because there's some plastic that sticks up and you got this metal post, it just doesn't, like, geez, it just won't fit on here. You're gonna need to break out the flat file and take your time. If you do 4 strokes here, flip it, do 4 strokes on the other side. All right, so when you look at your bar, you got, right now we're working on the bottom of the steel side, bottom side of the bar, 2, 3, 4. When you flip it, the top side is now here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and just keep going back and forth until this fits the Dewalt unit. You don't want this to be tight. If this goes on too tight, you're not gonna be able to make adjustments to tighten and loosen the bar, and it's just not gonna be good for the unit. So now when you put this on and you look, you're like, all right, well, am I gonna get bar oil? You know, how much bar oil are we gonna get here out of this particular saw, right? So I'm looking, right now it's cranked all the way back to get the chain off. But if you're not sure if you're gonna get enough bar oil, what you can do is you can hone out this hole, the little bar oil hole on the saw. So you can take your drill, you can get a little bit smaller bit. It has seemed as though it's been oiling pretty good, because what ends up happening, I mean, you can do that for extra oil. I mean, I don't think you necessarily have to. You got to just keep an eye on it when you run it. But when this is lined up and you crank and tighten everything down, it's going to slide forward to about here. You see how the 2 holes on top, you're able to see yellow through those. When you put the cover on, this side gets blocked, but the original steel hole will allow bar oil to come up through into the bar, thus oiling the bar and chain. So you don't really need to modify this. I mean, you can if you want, but you don't need to. It should get enough oil. I mean, everything seemed to be sopping wet, but just kind of want to throw it in there in case, you know, you're having issues. So at this point, you're ready for assembly. To be honest, it really is that simple. I don't know, it seems simple to me, maybe it's not, but grab your newly modified bar and chain here. on the sprocket, like put it on the bar and then fish it onto the sprocket and lay everything flat. Because if your measurements are off a little bit, you won't be able to just put the bar and things on. But if you do it this way and you lay it down, 9 times out of 10 it works, unless you didn't remove, you know, hardly enough material. So there's a rubber piece on the saw up here by the chain brake. Don't pinch that in there. Flip that up, finish tightening down. Now, I'm not going to tighten it down all the way. Things have to adjust. See all that sag? You don't want that. Loosen. Come back here to your chain tensioner. I tighten it up until it's good and tight, and then I back it off. Make sure this is not tight. A little bit of slack in there, nothing crazy. Now chances are the first time you go to cut or you turn it on, the chain's going to be super loose. This thing's throwing bar oil like crazy. I'm not going to check my chain with that battery in, but we might have got it good, so that's good. I'm happy with that. Alright guys, so that's it. That is modifying your Dewalt 12-inch chainsaw to be a detail saw. Now I realize we did it with a 10-inch regular bar. This is what my son's going to learn to carve on. You can do this same modification with sprocket and all that, right? You're just swapping sprockets out. But the same modification to a carving bar that we did on this bar to make your carving bar fit in chain. And then you're good to go. So, you know, I really wouldn't recommend like a 16-inch bar or anything bigger, because this saw does cut slow. It's not a ton of power. To me, it's a very small carving to detail kind of saw. So 10-inch to 12-inch bar max, and the you know, or a dime tip carving bar or detail bar, whatever you want to call it. So that's where I'm at with it, guys. Hopefully this will help you out. Check out those links down below. Be sure to give me a thumbs up, hit subscribe, hit that bell, hit all, and keep an eye out for the next video. Appreciate y'all watching. Stay safe.